I'm so ready to talk RSVP.
I'm curious if you can remember writing the poem. I know it's been a while. Do you know the time frame that it was roughly that you were writing it?
Oh, Welcome to the Creative Club was released December 2024. And I started writing it a year before that. But the poems kind of came in between. Like there was a moment later on in the writing process where I realized I really needed or wanted poetry, because I think poetry does something that prose can't just do in the same way. Like it bypasses the analytical mind and kind of hits you right in the jugular. It just grabs you by the collar and pulls you in a very emotional way, ways that we don't necessarily need to understand. And that felt really important to me. Also, with a book about creativity, it felt important to have different doorways into creativity and into reclaiming it. So I think the poetry came after the book, where I'm like, okay, I need another door to invite people back to their creativity and into my own as well, right? Yeah. It's like a revolving door, into mine, into yours.
Cool. So it sounds like they came relatively fast if you did that many of them, because there were 12 total in the book.
Yeah. So 12 total.
Do you generally, whether you remember specifically RSVP or not, but like, do you generally one sitting, that's it, and it's there? Really?
I usually do one sitting and then it needs editing, but the bones are there.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay. And for RSVP, I had something in particular in mind. Like I really wanted a poem that would invite people back into their creativity, or at least invite people into the world of their creativity in a different way before the book even started.
Right.
And to remind them of what creativity is and what it could be.
Okay, so it's also the first poem in the book as well, because it starts the album. Okay, it's been a while since I read the book, so
and it starts the book.
Okay.
It's like the very first thing you read. It's like this is the invitation.
Yeah,
you know, even before we get into what the book is about, what it could do, where it came from, what I'm inviting you into. It was a more emotive way to like say this is the kind of cryptic emotional invitation into your creativity and into reclaiming that and applying it to your life. It was funny because I was on another podcast and the host said to me, hey, he read parts of RSVP out loud and he's like, I don't know what this means, but I feel it.
Cool.
And that felt really resonant to me.
Yeah.
And then I explained what it meant. Like he was like born inside of stars. Before Earth was born.
Yeah.
And that's really about our origin story of, stardust and all the things that make us who we are. It's such a creative process becoming a human, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
It was really a wink to that. Like it said, in between Egyptian cotton sheets is like your parents created you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
The universe, the cosmos created us. We have residue of that cosmic creation literally infused in physical being, right?
Yeah.
In our bones. And also our parents created us.
Yeah.
Like, what's more creative than that? So that's kind of where those ideas came from.
Those ideas remind me of a couple of things. One was a dream I had where I was like standing outside and I kept being killed by this explosion going off over and over and over. And somewhere along the line, I was just like, oh yeah, I like came from a star that exploded. It was just like this like knowing inside of a dream that we sometimes get. And it was just like, yeah, okay, we've been doing this for a while. Like when I say we, I don't even know. And it reminds me of our first conversation where we got into a conversation a lot like this. Like we jumped right in big and we were just talking about the universe and the mystery of it all and how we're just a couple little drops, right? Like that's like our thing. And so I love to hear that that's like in the DNA of the work, but it's just in our DNA too, in the way that I feel like we collaborate and discuss and the things we're interested in. Probably why we like met and within a couple months, like we're making an album together.
Absolutely. And I think it's a reminder of the mystery, the mystery of being alive and the mystery and beauty of our ability to be able to create our experiences and to create anything we want to create and make real in the world. And we need to remember that's always within. that's always available to us. It's easy to forget.
Yeah.
And so RSVP is like the invite you didn't know you needed.
Yeah.
It's always been there.
And it's like
Come back.
sometimes I'll hear RSVP and be like, oh yeah, clock back in. Like I need a reminder from yesterday. Like I was creating yesterday, but today maybe I'm in a funk, but then it's like, oh yeah, RSVP, you're right back in it, you know? So yeah, I love that. It's something that resonates with me, and I don't know. I'm sure all creatives. So I'm glad you wrote this poem. I'm glad that we made this thing together.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, you want to talk about some music?
I want to talk about music. I want to talk about your process and what came through, because one of the most exciting things about this collaboration was it opened me up to possibilities I didn't know existed.
Same.
In terms of what words and how music and creative self-expression and what we could do together.
Yeah.
And there's so much magic in that. And I would love to pull the curtain behind your process of creating the track.
The way that you talked about poetry, by the way, is the way I think about music. It's very similar. It bypasses that logical mind. Like we can try to explain it in terms of like music theory, and I know exist in, you know, art with color theory, and I'm sure there's versions of that in, you know, written word. But
definitely,
yeah, it's something that I really enjoyed about us working together, because oftentimes, not always, because there are some musicians that are very intuitive. They know nothing. They don't even know what chord they're playing. They have no idea. And I play with some of those people, and they're great and brilliant. But a lot of times, like if you're in a recording studio and you're recording in 2025, like you'll know the Nashville number system, and you'll have all of these like different like music theory things, you know, the technical. And what I loved about working with you is there wasn't that. And I mean that in the best way. It's like, oh yeah, like we're just talking about the energy and the vibe. And we'll talk about this as we go on. But I love that sometimes you were just like, it just needs a little bit of, and it would be like, okay, I know exactly what you mean, but I would have to then go and like find that. And that was my favorite part about all of these songs, is just like taking your poem in and taking your prompts in, which you would give me prompts, but you also gave me free reign, and then saying, what does that feel like? And so like for RSVP, I remember that specifically the day that I wrote it, I was doing a podcast like this, and I'd worked on it for a couple hours, and I did the podcast, and then I finished it. And it was actually probably one of the closest, like, here's the vibe check, and if you go to the final mix, like, yeah, it sounds different, but the whole structure was like exactly it. 90% of the instrumentation was it. It just came out exact. And I remember whenever I was making it, I can't remember what your prompt was. I'm sure. Do you have it handy?
I do. I do. I can share it.
And we'll see how close or far we are, because sometimes they're close and sometimes they're not.
Okay, so the vibe, an ode, a warm welcoming where spirit and human meet, that space between where art is created. It's festive yet slightly melancholic, pensive, transformational, how water changes into steam, puts messages in shells, spitting whispers, sweat from dancing, makes pies, and creation is fucking.
Yeah. I think it sounds like that, personally. Like, I think that's one that actually was probably the closest. I'm laughing as you're saying it, because I'm like, I'm hearing the words, and in my head, I'm like, yep, this synthesizer does that. And, oh, yep, you talk about like human and spirit meeting. I think of the lows of the bass drum, doom, 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 doing this tribal beat with the high synth that's smoky and hidden by reverb. Like it, yeah, I'm getting a little out there, but, yeah, I guess that one, I feel like we got pretty close. When I read your book and then getting to know you, like the first thing that like I feel like is obvious is you're just this cool motherfucker to me. You're just cool. And you write about like being in these like dance halls and all these different places. And I thought of you in that sort of situation. And that was the tempo and the vibe I was going for, is this almost like club kind of vibe. And I remember that I wanted to sort of make you into a pop star. Like that was like the vibe. I was like, if I can just figure out, because there's no singing on the album, and all of your poetry and we'll talk about this more, I'm sure, but you'd already recorded your spoken word. Like, there were no times that there was music and then you listened to the music and spoke.
There was one track.
We tried, but we didn't use it, right? Didn't we revert
I don't
it back?
think it worked out so well,
Yeah,
which is really
it was
interesting
spilled
point.
Coffee. Yeah.
It was spilled coffee. Is that when we tried to do it, what most people might describe as
the normal way, the way you would do
right way, the way you would do it. Like, I'm listening, I'm trying to pace my voice to the beat and to the music. More orchestrated.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. Like, much more orchestrated.
Yeah.
And the one time we tried to do that,
and my musician friends, I've had a couple of them ask me as they listen to little bits and pieces that I've been sharing. They're like, did you do that? Like, did you record too? Because there's these moments where it just lines up so perfect. And what I will say to that is kind of a mixture. And this is where it ties into RSVP, is like, for the most part, I played it as it lied. Like, I just put it in and I just let it happen. And you can hear that it's very free flow for the most part. There are moments, and I find that this is true whenever I'm editing a video or when I'm making a song, even without the poetry. And there are just some moments that just line up perfect without even trying. I don't know what that is. I don't know what you want to call that. Coincidence, you can call it that if you want. But like, for me, there are so many moments on this album where you would say a certain thing and it would just hit in just the right beats. And then sometimes it would be so, and this is also another thing, is it would be so close. Like, I would be like, oh, if there was like a little pause right here and then something happened on a drum and then she said the word, and then I would just like nudge. So there's a little bit of nudging here and there. And for RSVP to bring all these ideas together, maybe it's because I was listening to Chapel Roan or something, and I'm thinking of like Hot to Go, that HOTTOGO. And I thought like, oh, we have that. We have RSVP. And so the whole outro moment where it goes into the drums and everything kicks in full, RSVP. Like, to me, that's like you on a runway in an arena, packed out show. You're the pop star. Like, that's the way that I sort of envision that. And I feel like everything that I was doing in the track while I was servicing your prompt, I knew that I wanted to get to this moment at the end where it just went off and you were like the star. And I don't know, that feels like being creative. Like, you are the star of whatever it is you're making.
Yeah, that's true. Definitely. Main character energy.
Yeah.
I had the visuals as you were talking, more like a very arresting door woman in this space. And I'm like, okay, everybody, like, come in. You've RSVP'd. Yes, you have. And then opening this door and like, just having everyone come in and having it all be there, and we're all together and have the party explode, and that kind of feeling.
Yeah. And on that note, that was also something I considered, is like, as you are saying over and over the end, RSVP, that's us being like, yep, I'm in, like, one by one, I'm in.
Exactly.
In. Or
it's like that clicker thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It was feeling like that. It was feeling like saying like, yeah, I'm signing up for this thing that we're doing.
Exactly.
Like, this creative collaboration, or just like, I'm RSVPing, yeah, I'm going to listen to this album. Whatever it is, like, it felt that way too. So yeah, there was that. And I will say too, for the music side, I don't know. It felt like I want to say around this time, not for this track, but you had sent me, and there wasn't a lot of this, and I couldn't have listened to more than probably 4 or 5 tracks, but you had sent me a few things that you liked to listen to. And one of them was that Jamie XX album. Maybe it's called like In Color, I think. That sounds right. Awesome. And I really like that album. Like, I listened to it a lot. And I think that maybe that Euro style, whatever, kind of bled in a little bit, because I've never really made anything that sounds quite like RSVP. Mm. There's a lot of stuff on that album that's that way. I've never made anything that sounds like this, but it just felt like where the wind blew me, and I don't know.
But that's the beauty. And I think there's a lesson in here, a big one somewhere. I don't know if it's a lesson or a reminder how creativity thrives. Like, sometimes when it's overly structured or when we keep trying to do it the right way or figure out how to do it instead of just trusting and allowing the process to unfold, we get in the way of what might be possible. You know, I think we limit the potential of what we could create.
Absolutely.
When we get stuck in these like regimented structures of, okay, no, but we need to do it like this. And I think that was what was so beautiful about our collaboration, which started at RSVP, was that there was like this inherent trust. And also between us and between what we were creating also with the wider universe, let's put it that way, the downloads, the chills, the vibes, as well as surrendering into the process and trusting that too, like cliched or not, there's a reason it's out there, trusting the process. So just like releasing and talking about, oh, this is the felt sense of the song. Like this is, and even the tracks I sent you were like, oh, this kind of has some of the similar vibes or the similar kind of, they make me feel what I want RSVP to make people feel like. And that's what it came down to. And I think it was so cool because you said I've never made anything before that sounds quite like this. And I've never made anything before in this kind of collaboration at all, like ever. And it was just so heart opening and mind blowing to be able to see what's possible when we trust each other, when we trust what's unfolding. And we just kind of play. We did a lot of playing. Like we had fun with it. It's like, okay, what's the vibe? And then and not taking anything personal. It's just like, oh, well, this made me feel this. I'm not sure about that. And it's like, yeah, I can hear that. That didn't happen for RSVP though. You're right. RSVP right out the gate was like,
every time I would send you RSVP, like there was the first vibe check. It's what we call them. We call them vibe checks, where I would go in for maybe an hour or two or sometimes less. One time it was literally just, I think I put down my phone and played something in the piano and you were like that. And it's like, oh, okay. So there was a lot of these almost like, I would call them like effortless things. And I think that a lot of the project, especially like what made it onto the album, was very effortless. And I think there's a lesson and a reminder in that. But what I'll say is that with RSVP, every time I would send you something, it's like, here's the vibe check. You're like, yep. And then like we later did an arrangement check where I would go in and try to fill out the rest of the instrumentation. You were like, yep. And then like, I feel like it was one of the first ones too, where it's like when we were doing the mix, it's like, yep. It's just RSVP was just always a very effortless sort of thing. Maybe because of the purity of sometimes when that initial thing comes, it's just so inspired that it just sort of, it was tough to mix. And I'll speak like practically, and maybe this will be a good time since it's the first episode to talk about this, because this is for the whole album, but talking about never doing something before. And I had never mixed an album before. Like I've been in bands and I've had albums that I was on and I've produced things before, but I never have done it all from a musical side, like where I'm composing the music, producing the album, and mixing the album. It's just technically not something that I was just not comfortable with. I'm still getting comfortable with. But what I would say is that's another element of trusting the process that we were talking about. And there was always this trust.
And trusting yourself.
Yeah. Just knowing, knowing that for me, and I feel like probably the same for you, it's like, I know I'm going to do my best. And I know that I'm going to keep going until I can't go any further. And that will be the best thing. And I feel like even and we'll talk about it more in other songs where there might have been more back and forth, but like even in the moments where if I sent you something that wasn't what we were looking for, or you sent me an idea that wasn't what I was thinking, that trust of like, I don't know about that. And I think as creatives, a lot of times when you're in collaboration, and this is something I think we just wholly avoided. If it ever went here, it was for 5 minutes and then it was gone. This idea of just like trusting the other so explicitly that it's just like, I know that if this isn't it, that we're just going to find it. And every moment as a creative that you resist that, like trying to convince the other person that your idea is right, or trying to convince the other person why something doesn't work, every moment that you spend doing that is just a waste of time to me. Like, it's not that there can't be dialogue about things, but it speaks more to the idea of like, I know when we talked about this, we said we both go until we're happy. And we both meant it and we both agreed on it. and we're both coming from this like beautiful, loving, creative space. And when you find that in a collaboration, what is there but, just trust that it's going to work out. And
me too. I love that we had that. I think that's one of the reasons RSVP was so effortless. Because it was like the universe doing us a solid. Yeah. This first one, our inaugural song that we co-created together, is just going to feel so aligned. It's going to feel so aligned, so smooth, so effortless. And so I feel like we had some external encouragement somehow through us being given that serendipity of like, oh, yeah, vibe check, spot on. And everything was just spot on for that one. And I think it built something. It created an openness, and it also created a feeling of rightness. Like, oh, what? I've never had this. Like, no feedback, not necessary. Like he nailed it. And the beautiful part was when I say nailed it, it's like it was honoring how you heard, felt, and interpreted that invitation.
Yeah,
and that was so beautiful to witness. As someone who's like, I had my own written way of expressing that. And then to hear your way musically of expressing that felt sense of an invitation into creativity was beautiful. Yeah. Then hearing them come together it was really a phenomenal experience of what co-creation could look like and feel like.
And it speaks to, again, trust. It's another element of trust, which is just like openness. Like when you mentioned earlier in this conversation, this idea of not really knowing what's going to come of something, like trusting the universe, putting your preference aside a little bit. And you could have had a very rigid sense of what you wanted RSVP to be. Either like specifically sending me a track and being like, I want it to sound like this, which I don't like to create that way personally. And I don't know. I mean,
then you're not creating, you're emulating.
Yeah. I like to say there's two sides of being creative, and you can say living too. There's the feeling, which is very intuitive. And then there's the analytical, logical side, which is us breaking things down. And one is unknown, one is known. And when you create from the unknown, that feels different to me. And it's not to say that there's not moments for our logical mind to get involved. Like I very logically was like, okay, F minor. Like, yeah, we're going to be in the key of F minor for this song. There is logic to it, but it's more of like, for me, where do you lead from and where are you pulling from and where are the ideas stemming from? And I can always go back in and add logic later. But the idea of just being open and allowing for things to come, because sometimes it's like something better than what you ever thought. And I think that's true for us in life, is a lot of times there's something even better for us than what we could have imagined, but we're so focused or closed off by wanting this one specific thing. And I deal with that all the time. It's this constant, like you said, surrendering and letting go. And I like that art prepares us for that in life, and maybe vice versa. But yeah, I love the way this track ended up. It was a challenge for me technically. I think I'll always will want to be able to push further in that side of things. But in terms of like the composition and the feeling of what we were able to capture, I'm totally in love with it. I love what RSVP is.
So do I. And wanting to honor our collaboration was what gave us the idea to have that conversational bit.
Yeah.
Because it was like, hey, wait a minute, how do we show the co-creation that happened behind the scenes, like all of the WhatsApp messages and videos we sent, like all of the feedback, because that was creative in and of itself. Just like, hey, and then I heard this, bam, 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 what'd you think? And, oh, this word, boom. And there's like so much of that happening in the background that people don't see. So adding a little bit of our conversation into the track felt like a way of, honoring that, a way of just revealing, oh, here's a taste of what went into it behind the scenes.
A lot of times I would get into my work for the day and I would open up the app and you would be responding to whatever I sent you last. And sometimes it would just be like this, like, oh, I love it so much. It's like, great. Now I'm going to get to work and I'm going to take all this. And it felt like this like feedback loop of, we're putting these internal things into the work. And so it felt like it was just this constant, like, like we said, we've used the word trust, like there was that, but it was like love and like all of that, like just the good vibes, if you want to call it that. And it felt like that was constantly happening. And I think that comes out in the work in a way that like I'm not planning for, in a sense. Like I can't say, oh, I'm going to be inspired today, but it's easy to be inspired when you're working with someone and that's the energy that's constantly coming through. So.
And imagine what happens when we enter into a creative partnership or any kind of collaboration or partnership, and we're like, ooh, I trust this is going to be so fun and interesting. I have no idea what's going to come out of it, but also I trust you as a creative, as an artist. Like, I trust you totally.
Yeah.
And I am so excited to be able to see what we're going to create together. And I think that was very much the energy. It was like,
yes,
you're talented mofo, you know what I mean?
That's how I feel about you, yeah.
And there's a depth and a curiosity and an artistry and an openness, not only to each other, but to the universe of like, okay, I'm just going to sit and feel intuitively what comes through. And I think that shows up so much in how I create. That's also how I write poetry very much. It's like, usually I have an idea and I'm like, oh, okay, this is how I want, this is what I want to express. This is what I'm inviting people to feel into. And then like, there's an idea, like RSVP, there was an inkling. Like I want to invite people into their creativity, expand what creativity means, and give them a taste of what I mean by that, you know? And even if not every line is understood, it's felt. And I think we did that through our collaboration, and we did that musically. And I think there's a beauty in how we mirrored each other's creative process and then recreated it in our creative collaboration.
Yeah.
That's felt really fun and fab. Like, I don't have any other words.
I'm with you on it. It seems like there are times when people come together and like energy isn't just additive, but it's multiplied. And I feel like that's the kind of collaboration we have. And those are the kind of collaborations I look for.
Yeah. And I really hope that people listening get a taste of what that's like, you know, and take some things home with them. They're like, oh yeah, okay, well maybe I don't need to structure this to death. And maybe I can really trust that person that I'm collaborating with and get curious and let go a bit. And what if we made it fun together? And so it's to pull back the curtain of the making of all the poems and tracks in Famished.
It's for all of us. It's there.
It's for all of us.
Yeah.
And actually that's a beautiful point. It's really for all of us. That's why we created this podcast. And that's why we created the album. It's really to share the joy, the ecstasy, the expansive nature of creating and co-creating.
Yep.
Yep.
And we just co-created the first episode.
And we did.
First reaction listening to the tracks, it's fucking dope. You know what I'm saying? Dope. And I was smiling hard.
I feel a lot of love for you and for the project and for your work, and so I'm just going to take that and put it all into getting this to where it feels really, really, really good.
RSVP. Art is an invitation to a place where we draw shapes on fogged up windows, learn new languages whispered in the breeze, write the story of our bones on screens in blue light, dance down grocery aisles shaking a bag of popcorn like a pom-pom, marvel at a cracked pomegranate and our stained fingertip whorls, hold a pearly seashell to our ears to hear the ocean's poetry, make cherry clafoutis in memory of someone we loved. How we live is our art, the purest form of creation, made in Egyptian cotton sheets and inside stars before Earth was born.